Change, 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 change.
My name is Rowan, and welcome to Rowan's Wrathful Math Lessons, where I bring the wrath to math.
There is literally no wrath in this video at all. It's just me being incredibly annoying the whole time. Sorry.
So today's topic we'll be talking about is the chain rule. Wow. So basically the chain rule tells us how to find the derivative of a composite function. So in layman's term, that basically helps us to differentiate a problem with multiple parts to it. Let's get started.
So these are the steps on how to differentiate a composite h of x equals v of u of x problem. So these are essentially the basic steps for how to solve a chain rule problem. So the first step is to differentiate the inside function. So basically find u prime of x. The second step is to treat the entire inside function, which is u, as a variable, and then differentiate the outside function with respect to that u. So basically you're finding v prime, which is the outside function of the u prime. And then you're going to multiply the results of both of these derivatives. Then an example of this is h prime of x equals u prime of x times v prime of u times x. Woohoo! And here's a little extra second to look at the steps. So we're going to start with a pretty simple chain rule problem. So in this question, I started by bringing the exponent out of the exponent's place and out in front of the parentheses and subtracting 1 from the exponent. And then I took the derivative of the inside, which was 12x plus 7. And then I simplified this derivative, which turns out to be 4 times 12x plus 7 times 6x plus 7x to the third. So this is another pretty simple differentiation using the chain rule problem. Instead, this time the exponent is a negative power instead of a positive power, which just alters it because the exponent will get bigger instead of smaller, because subtracting two negatives will create a bigger number. I forgot to include in my second step the derivative of the inside function, but in my simplified version I show that the derivative of the inside function is 8t minus 3. So that's what you get after completing all of the steps. So this example is a little more complicated just because it involves the trig functions sine and tan, but if you know the derivative of the two of those, it's not that hard. So the problem is g of x equals 2 sine times 3x plus tangent of x. So to solve this problem, you're going to take the derivative of both the sine and the tangent. And in this problem, the innermost function is the x. And since the derivative of x is 1, it's superfluous to include this in your answer. So you're basically just taking two derivatives here and multiplying them by each other. And you're technically taking the third, you're just not including it in your final answer. This last example is going to be the most complicated example we do, and it's so complicated because you have to use the chain rule multiple times. So as you can see, the thing that we have to derive is pretty ugly. The chain rule makes it easier. So the first step you're going to do is pull the exponent out in front of the parentheses and subtract 1 from the exponent, giving you this result. And then you're going to take the derivative of the next part of the function, which is the 3 square roots of 12x, and I put it as 12x to the 1/3 to make it simpler to derive. just because then you just have to bring the exponent out front instead of having to deal with a square root. So yeah, you derive that part, which gives you 1/3 times 12x to the negative 2/3 times 12, because you're also deriving the inside function of 12x, plus 2 sine of 3x, and then you're going to take the derivative of the next part, which is the sine of 3x. So the derivative of this part is 6 sine of 3x cosine 3x. So now you take all of these steps and you multiply them together to give you your final answer. And it takes me a second to write this final answer because it is so long. So here's my mistake right here. And here we go, erase. Nice. Alright, and the final answer is negative 3 square roots of 12x plus sine squared times 3x to the negative second times 4 times 12x to the negative 2/3 plus 6 sine of 3x. Now this time 6 sine times 3x times cosine times 3x. There you go. It's beautiful.
This concludes today's wrathful lesson on the chain rule. Tune in next time where we will discuss why it's time to stop shaming people for not taking individual little actions to prevent climate change, and why we need to address the problem of capitalism and the lack of policy pointed towards preventing major companies from completely destroying our planet. Bye!
We love the earth, it is our planet. We love the earth, it is our home. We love the earth, it is our planet. We love the earth. I'll be your baby doll, your bodyguard if you tell me to. I'll try to make it hard, not as hard if you let me through.